Anatoly Yuryevich Moskvin, also known as the Russian dollmaker, is one of the most infamous cases in Russian criminal history. His macabre activities shocked the world and earned him infamy as the Necropolis Professor. Anatoly Moskvin was born on September 1, 1966, in the city of Gorky, now Nizhny Novgorod, Russia. A highly intelligent and introverted child, Moskvin demonstrated a deep fascination with history, linguistics, and the occult from an early age. He was particularly drawn to cemeteries and burial rituals. His interest in death reportedly began at the age of 13, when he attended the funeral of a young girl in his neighborhood. According to Moskvin, he was coerced into kissing the corpse, an experience he later described as life-altering. Moskvin excelled academically, eventually earning a degree in Celtic studies and becoming a linguist and historian. He spoke more than a dozen languages and was considered an expert on Celtic culture and burial traditions. He also wrote extensively on local history and folklore, often focusing on graveyards and cemeteries. Over the years, Moskvin developed an obsessive interest in cemeteries. He reportedly visited over 750 cemeteries across Nizhny Novgorod Oblast and cataloged thousands of graves. His work was initially perceived as a harmless eccentricity, and he even contributed articles to academic journals and newspapers about his findings. However, his obsession masked a far darker secret. Moskvin would often spend nights in cemeteries, claiming he could hear the voices of the dead. He believed that these voices guided him to particular graves. In his mind, he was tasked with a divine mission to bring the deceased back to life. In 2011, police were investigating a series of grave desecrations in Nizhny Novgorod. When they followed a trail to Moskvin's modest apartment, what they found was beyond anything they could have imagined. Inside his cluttered home, authorities discovered 29 life-size dolls, each dressed in elaborate clothing. Upon closer inspection, they realized these dolls were actually mummified corpses of girls aged 3 to 15. Moskvin had exhumed their bodies from local cemeteries and preserved them using a mixture of salt and baking soda to dry out the skin. He then wrapped their bodies in fabric and stuffed them with rags to maintain their shape. Moskvin would meticulously dress the corpses in fine clothing, often sewing their outfits himself. Some were adorned with wigs, makeup, and even toys placed inside their cavities. Others had music boxes embedded in their chests so they could sing. He gave each of them names and celebrated their birthdays, treating them as his surrogate children. When questioned, Moskvin explained that he was driven by a belief that he could rescue these children from their graves and eventually bring them back to life. He claimed he felt a spiritual connection to them and believed they were calling out to him for help. Moskvin showed no remorse for his actions, arguing that he had not killed anyone but had merely rescued the dead. He even wrote letters to the parents of the deceased, asking for permission to dig up their children. These letters were never sent. Psychiatrists later diagnosed Moskvin with schizophrenia and deemed him unfit to stand trial. In 2012, he was committed to a psychiatric facility, where he remains to this day. The discovery of Moskvin's crimes sent shockwaves through Russia and the world. The families of the desecrated children were devastated, and many demanded harsher punishment for Moskvin. However, his diagnosis of mental illness led to widespread debates about the adequacy of Russia's legal and psychiatric systems. Moskvin's story has inspired numerous documentaries, books, and even fictional adaptations. It continues to be a chilling reminder of how an eccentric fascination can spiral into unimaginable horror. As of recent reports, Moskvin remains confined in a psychiatric institution. In 2020, he petitioned for his release, claiming he had been cured. However, the courts denied his request, citing the potential danger he posed to society. Despite his confinement, Anatoly Moskvin's case remains one of the most bizarre and unsettling criminal stories of the 21st century, a disturbing blend of intelligence, delusion, and a profound obsession with death.